I grew up being taken to galleries and museums. They were always kind of my safe space, and I used to ask for pencils and paper from the gallery assistants, which my mum really resented because she hated drawing, but I was like 3 or 4 and she couldn't really say no to me. And it just felt really natural that as I got older I would study art, and I studied art at school and then at university. For me it was like the ultimate cheat code, because if you study fine art you also get to study sociology and history and English and politics and all these other things, so that was just what made it so exciting. And from the age of 16, I mean it would have been 14 if it was legal to hire me at 14. Gallery assistant in sales and marketing and comms, but also then as the creative director, and it was during that time that I really started to kind of unpick what it meant for people to have a practice that existed in the real world, outside of uni, outside of studios, and actually how do artists support themselves, and how does art interact with the public in galleries and institutions. I always think about creativity as one facet of our holistic health, and in the same way that we would care a lot about our mental health or our physical health, you would think about doing daily movement or stretching or exercising to build up resilience and strength. I think it's really important to think of creativity like that as well, and so for me, making sure that creativity and the arts are accessible is a way of encouraging people to think more carefully and maybe more enthusiastically about the role that art plays in their life, and not just in the individual's life but also in the story of society. There's still a really big perception gap between what most people perceive an art gallery or a museum to look or feel like, or the expectations of being in that space. There's a gap between that, what people assume it's like to be in a gallery, and what it's actually like to be in a gallery, or what it could be like to be in a gallery. So I think that there's some fantastic institutions doing lots of work to make sure the doors are wide open and make sure people really understand that they're welcome in those spaces, but there's still a lot more that can be done. And in terms of the art that is being shown and being displayed, you know, even really simple things. I went to a great exhibition the other day where there was audio clips of the artist talking about each piece of work that you just scanned on your phone and you could just listen to it. And really small things like that, where you're thinking about how people can experience the art in a multi-sensory way, is always going to be helpful. Yes, I'm so excited. I've always been really fascinated by the history of Soho. Yeah, so Soho was farmland in the 17th century, and then it became this kind of artistic bohemian hotspot where painters like William Blake I think he was born here and he spent loads of time here. And then it became this like Victorian slum. So in the kind of Victorian era, the French Huguenots and loads of other immigrant populations came to this area. So all of the aristocrats moved out, they all came in, and then all of these kind of workshops and mini factories were set up, but all within like the craft industry. So the French Huguenots actually brought over the silk industry, and they founded the silk part of the textile industry in England. And actually their church is, I can't remember if it's that one or if it's that one, but one of the churches on the square is that one of the only French Huguenot Protestant churches in the country. Maybe fact check that. But anyway, they founded the silk industry here. So after the Victorian era, it then kind of, you know, the kind of dirty slumness of it melted away. And it was like still pretty grim and grotty, but it became, just this real hotbed for kind of political refugees and thinkers and artists and creatives. Karl Marx, David Bowie, like all of these people have lived, worked, created around this space. And of course now it's really gentrified, but there's all these pockets of history. And it's also a real hub for small independent galleries. So there are loads and loads of little independently owned galleries around these streets, and it's only a square mile. You know, it's kind of quartered off by Oxford Circus, Oxford Street, Regent Street, Shaftesbury Avenue, Charing Cross Road, and then we've just got this square mile. It just has so much history and history of the arts. So I think it's a really cool place, and I just wish people explored it a little bit more, and that's what this trail is all about. I I think it's just that idea that you don't have to experience art in, you know, really huge, grandiose settings. It doesn't have to be a whole day out. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be a big ordeal. Actually, just spending time with one or two small exhibitions, one or two artists, understanding local practice is really interesting, and sometimes can, I think, be more impactful than, you know, artists that, yeah. So, you know, thinking about an artist's practice in London, for someone who lives and works in London, that's a really interesting contrast and conversation for them to have about what that person's creating in their city. I think it's basically just like, is art's transformative? Yes. Yeah. I hope that people just feel really energised by the trail, actually, and that they think about Soho in a new light, and that they have a bunch more galleries to have on their radar and to be able to come and visit when they feel like having a little check-in with their creativity. What's nice about using the app is that it kind of takes the guesswork out of it. So instead of having to plan ahead or decide on where to go, it's just all laid out for you. It's really simple. You can just follow the little spots around. You can do it over the whole month, or you can do it in a day. It's kind of designed to just pick it up, put it down, and enjoy the art in bite-sized bits or all at once.